Hey everybody, it's your best friend Drew Geraci, and I got some more comics from my spinner rack, and also some comics that I recently purchased that will find a happy home in my spinner rack. So we got Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth, sorta. The first 3 years were solely created by Kirby, and Kamandi, of all the DC 1970s comics, it was the most popular. He did New Gods and Mr. Miracle, Forever People, and unfortunately those went away. The Demon came along, which I really liked, and Kirby was going over to Marvel. He's going back to Marvel. He's going to do Captain America, and he did, I think, 2001 right away. So what they did was, just like they had brought back the New Gods after Kirby went to Marvel, they kept Kamandi going without him. In the last few issues, Jerry Conway had actually done the script over Kirby art. So it kind of died a slow, pathetic story. Slow, pathetic death. And Ernie Chan's on the cover. Very, very big cover artist for DC. He did a ton of stuff like JLA, all that. Well, it is written by Jerry Conway. No, he's editing Martin Pasco and Denny O'Neil. It took two writers to do this. Keith Giffen, a very young Keith Giffen, and Bob Smith artist. Bob Smith's been an inker for decades, and he's always delivered. This is not Kamandi. It is, but it's not. To me, it's fun stuff in a way that I love early Giffen, and my opinion of it, my relationship with his early art was that it was clunky, it was fun, but it looked like fan art. I'll be frank. I mean, a lot of these guys start doing, stuff like fan art, and it sort of made it easy for me to copy it and like draw my own comics. Because even early George Perez, he did all these tricks that I started to pick up on. I couldn't draw a cityscape like him or anything, but you see a lot of these. There's some Kirbyisms. Profiles are huge. That was a huge thing with Keith Giffen all through, the 80s when he was doing Legion of Superheroes. So then he did Defenders, and I love that stuff too. But the story's okay. And I don't know if that character. There's Ben Boxer, who was pretty popular in the book. I don't know if these characters were created by Kirby. They look like Kirby creations, but probably not. Who knows? Who knows? Well, you out there must know. So, you see how crude those last three panels are? But as a kid, even if this was done as a fill-in for like a Marvel team-up or something, I would have thought, this is kind of fun. It's weird. It's not perfect, but I think I could draw like this. So it gave me like the opening. It opened my mind to like draw my own comics, and it also eventually got me into comics because I had the initiative. I could see the bridge between fan and pro close up. So how about this in a comic book, Rolling Stone's Black and Blue album? And that's just really interesting. I love the art though. It's line art based on the photo, but I don't know who did it. I'll have to look at it because that's not the cover. That's a drawing of the cover. And it's pretty neat. So when you're starting out, you just fill the page with a lot of stuff. I like that. There goes the escalator. Oh, let me go back. So, yeah, see, this page probably took no time. But, when you're a new kid on the block, you gotta, I know all too well, you gotta really bang stuff out and you get better with every page. You do a whole thing where you do like 1,000 pages before you get good. And the backup is by David Anthony Kraft and Mike Nasser with Joe Rubenstein, both of which were in Neil Adams' studio, Continuity Studios, about a year prior to this. And Nasser has a Neil Adams-esque style, as do a lot of people who went there. The panel layouts are kind of weird. Like, that's kind of like dead air down there. It should be a little more dusty. That's kind of neat. I could see where Mike Grell also maybe had that idea to do that kind of angle. and because he started off as kind of a Adams clone in a sense. Yeah. So it's freaky, it's weird, but it's fun. So speaking of freaky, weird, but fun, let's go West Coast Avengers. Man, I was so stoked when the mini series came out by Roger Stern, Bob Hall, and Brett Breeding, and then when it became a regular series, it totally switched over to Steve Englehart, who wrote years of the Avengers in the mid '70s, and Al Milgrom, who collaborated with Steve Englehart on Captain Marvel, and Joe Sinnott, who didn't have a home since uh, John Byrne was inking his own stuff. He came in and tied it all up together. Now, it was I have such mixed feelings about West Coast Avengers. It's my favorite lineup of superheroes, but I mean, him, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and for whatever reason, I always loved Wonder Man and Mockingbird, Tiger. Fine. And this is Firebird. So, and you even have Tom Orzechowski on the letters, so it's a nice package. And this continues the previous issue, and the character's name is Master Pandemonium, which means something like home to many demons. So I kind of dig that name, and I think he's a good Marvel villain. I mean, he was good enough that John Byrne used him later to undo Scarlet Witch's kids. And I know that was very, disliked, but yeah, all these demons would come out of his arms and shit. But the only thing is, it is a lot of fun, but it has a real throwback feel to it, and it's kind of neat. It's kind of like the early '70s. And I think that's what I like at the time, because everything was getting so grim and gritty. But the Thing, who left the Fantastic Four when Johnny Storm shacked up with Alicia Masters, which turned out to be retroactive. That it was a Alicia Masters scroll, but whatever. And the Thing, they were really courting the Thing at the Avengers. He just went by to visit, and yeah, no, this is about the time I quit because they kept screwing with the Goblin's origin. So, Mockingbird. So, and that's it. We've got our sixth member. And Hawkeye was like a total dick. He's totally ignoring Firebird, and because he wants the Thing. But it was a fun series. The second year where they had Lost in Space Time, I enjoyed greatly, even though Wonder Man's costume is easily the most painful to the eye costume ever. And as the series went on, though, it kind of became a little more juvenile. It's really hard to explain, and I kind of dropped that for a while. But Omac, this came out in 1990 or so. It's book 1 of 4. That's pretty clever. All John Byrne, and suggested for mature readers. So shh, don't tell anybody. So this is another interpretation of a Jack Kirby creation, and it's all in black and white. Now, I remember not buying this because back then, you didn't have everything bagged and board. You could actually, thumb through the comics, and you'd hear, this ain't no library, kid. And I was just like, well, wouldn't it be, better if it was $1 cheaper because it was in black and white? Because it saves a lot of money, but, yeah, and also, at that time, money was tight when it came to my comic book habit. The lettering, which was created by Byrne himself, I really don't care for. It gets tricky to read, and it gets real muddy when you have a lot of bold words. Here we go. This is one that's really off-putting to me. So, but it's still really cool, and I bought it now because it's now I paid $2 an issue, at Dave's Comics, the $2 bin. So so far so good, digging it. So now the not digging department was this. Peter David eventually got the boot off the Hulk for whatever reason. I think he got busy with DC. He did Supergirl. He did Young Justice that was coming along. So for a while, this book was really just a mess. It was just people coming in and out. And it's written by Joe Casey and done by not Brian Pulido. Who's that guy? Well, here's your what has happened before. And that looks very expensive to put together on that. And Marvel was still in bankruptcy at the time. Through no real fault of their own. It was the whole Ron Perlman thing and buying Heroes World and stuff. What year is this? Here we go. 1998. Okay. Okay. Javier Pulido, who turned out to be a really good Kirby-esque artist. But at this time, it's very flat and just not really ready for prime time. And also the problem is you have this, if you're going to have a classic, really cool, really, the super adaptoid who first appeared in Tales of Suspense with Captain America, and then later on with the Avengers, he's a great character, but he's a real geeky character. He's like a real inside baseball character. Like you won't see him in the Marvel movies because, it's quaint probably to a lot of people that he has, Captain America. He's got wings. He's got 4 of the Avengers costumes and stuff like that. And at this point, there was starting to become a lot more meta type stuff where. And in jokes where they would laugh at classic characters for whatever. So I thought those were interesting. I picked it up for that. But blah, 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 blah. Whoop, commercial. Ad. Blah, blah, blah. There's the Adaptoid in its original form. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, see, Joe Casey is a solid writer, but I'm not really huge on his stuff because I bought Avengers Origin, which was drawn by Phil Noto and written by Joe Casey, and hardly anything happens in those 5 issues. And I got like a hardcover for dirt cheap at a show, and I didn't keep it. It was just like, it's pretty pictures, but, I'm not taking up any space on my shelf. So now, towards the end, we get Super Adaptoid. It's just the build-up should have been tighter. So, and like I said, Javier Pulido will get really, really good, really, really fast. Here's an effect that became notorious for a while. They're taking the foreground character and the scanning it, at a lower DPI just to give the impression that the camera is focusing on him and he's in the foreground. And I've had work done where it's, me and the pencil are just like shake our heads, and say, why did they make that special effect? Why did they make this fast? So, it's really flat. It's, and the coloring's not really happening. I think the guy just, it looks really banged up, but the Super Adaptoid, great stuff. So, and, he goes back to home base to kill his captors. And, that's okay. It's just, I was so lit. I didn't even read the whole thing. I kind of jumped towards the end. I started reading it, and it was good. It's just, if you're going to invest in a comic book, and you have superheroes, and you have a super geek character, real inside, you really have to know your Marvel history to come up with the Super Adaptoid and not utilize them much except towards the end. What's the point? Now we're getting to the best book of the bunch right now. Eclipse Monthly, Eclipse, run by, I think, it's Jan and Dean. I can't think of their last name. Oh my gosh. Mulaney, yeah, as well as Cat Ironwood. I don't know if that's her real name or not, but who cares? So this was Eclipse just published everything. It was great. They had reprints of classic books. They had, reprints of Jerry Siegel's work before Superman, like some of their earlier stuff they tried to sell. Just a little of everything. They did 3D. They did trading cards, and they knew how to sell certain things to keep the rest of the books afloat, like the ones that may not sell as much, and doing we call not an inventory, but an anthology is really kind of it's gutsy because those haven't really been popular in the last 50 years at least. So this is BC Boyer, the Masked Man, great character, very much like the Spirit. So we have Marshall Rogers start off with Captain Quick and the Foozle. Now, I've read this in the past, like the first issue, and it's funny because you had Marshall Rogers, a hot artist off of Batman, becomes hot artist off of Doctor Strange, and he decides to work with the Indies, which is cool. This is 1983, and he has this character called the Foozle, and there's Captain Quick, and it's cute, but it was really ballsy to do something like this because this is not. It's commercial if you're not a comic book reader. Like this would make a great animated series, but it's not. It's not what you expect in comics, at that point. But I like it, but I just think it was so gutsy and crazy. But yeah, he just loved the design. I like the sort of spats on the big old feet, even though birds don't have feet. That's okay. He's a Foozle. He's not a regular bird. And Aztec Ace. We never caught all kinds of it. And we had Ditko, who somehow didn't make the cover, which is odd because Cat Ironwood is a major Ditko, fan. I think I like Ditko's indie stuff better than his Marvel DC stuff at the time. And maybe because he was more emotionally invested and he could pace the story a little more. But really nice stuff. I like the colors a lot. It's on Baxter paper too. These small indie books, they also, companies small, they're gutsy. They put things on better paper, charging more than twice what a Marvel comic would. And Marvel was running, they were also, Marvel was flooding the shelves. So we got Ragamuffins, which ran a few issues, and Don McGregor and Gene Colan, they put this together. They also worked on Nathaniel Dusk for DC, which I've done an episode on, and it's so gorgeous. Yeah, Klaus Janson inking and coloring. The best. I just love it. He's like, hey, I'm okay. I'm going to skip over that because I don't know exactly what's going on. I didn't read this issue yet. I just like the artwork. But they're basically kids that were on their own and sort of like Stand By Me. They were sort of, before Stand By Me, just a couple unsupervised kids, and they tend to get in trouble. Then we got Trina Robbins, who's something of a legend in the female creators footnote of comics or department. And it's really nice stuff. This almost looks like Jaime Hernandez. So, same sensibilities. I wouldn't say. There you go, the Masked Man. And there he is. There's Cat Ironwood. See, the spelling is suspect to me. That makes me wonder if that's a real last name or if that's just a cool pen name. But beautiful art. The story's great. I like Masked Man. Little by little, I'm starting to get all the appearances of Masked Man. So there you go. Look at that lineup. You got Rogers, Colin, Ditko, and BC Boyer. It's a great package right there. So we got that. What's your opinions of Eclipse? Did you anything you favor? Any of these creators? What's your period? What's your opinion about this era of the Hulk, which was sort of floating around? It was before Quesada, and it was after Peter David, so the book kind of went everywhere. And did you like Omac? Did you think it was worthy follow-up to the Kirby book or reinvention or tweak or whatever you would call it? And what about West Coast Avengers? What did you like them too? I love Joe Sinnott, but I think it ended up making this real comic booky, which was cool. But at the time, it was very. I don't know. At the time, I kept thinking, I wish it wasn't so ambient in the light. And I know I said before I loved it because it looks like a 70s comics, but you know, it's. I guess I'm pulled both ways because the later issues really seem kind of, as I said, it sort of deteriorates, and then I didn't come back till Byrne came along, and I never thought I would stop buying West Coast Avengers, but then they brought back Vision and Scarlet Witch, who I thought were pretty boring in there, and what'd you think of this weird, messed up Kamandi post Kirby book? It's so weird, but I had to get it. It's such a curiosity. You just don't run into these things in the wild. Anyway, hope you like this. Tell me what you think about Kamandi, West Coast Avengers, Omac Hulk, and Eclipse Comics. And wishing you all the very best. Good day, everybody. Bye.